Well, I was heading the training in Anglo-Eastern for 32 years, and my last 5 years, I was finding a change in the behavior of the way people were willing to learn. Anything over 4 pages never got read by the youngsters. They didn't want anything in a paper format, they wanted everything on their mobile phones. And they would be hooked to their mobile phones. We were having problems with them wanting to take their mobile phone even to the bridge. So that got me thinking that, the next generation is not going to be learning through big fat books. And I started researching with some of the universities in the US and in Europe about what is the future of learning. Are we going to be still teaching in the same way that we were teaching in classrooms, etc.? Came to the conclusion that no, the learning habits are changing. There was a lot of research which said that the same thing that I had observed was proven in some research papers. So then I started talking to these professors and educationists. We came to the conclusion that the future is in 3 parts. One is that try to make everything short for learning. Short span of attention is a problem that all of us have because we have too much of data coming into the world now. And so that's what led to the micro-learning videos. So our formats are less than 7 minutes and less than 1 minute. The 1 minute is to make the people who like Instagram Reels and YouTube Shorts. So for quick reminders, the 1 minute format, and for the longer subject, 7 minutes. If the subject is too long, then we might do 3 episodes, like in Netflix, you get episode 1 to 3. And if it's good, we will binge watch Netflix, and similarly, we hope that our content will make people binge watch the videos. The second pillar that we chose was gamification of learning. Learning needs to be made fun. And this word edutainment came around in the industries all over. People in all industries were trying to make learning fun. So similarly, we made something in marine industry which is fun, and we teach people on how to improve on port state control and sire inspections through this gamification tool. And the third pillar we did was the digital twin learning, as we call it, or it's virtual reality. And we do that with actual scans of a ship or a space. And so with these 3 pillars, we're trying to modernize the way people learn, because the social habits are not possible to change. I mean, every 2 years there is a new fad. After Instagram came Snapchat, and now there are many others which keep coming up in each country. TikTok is still alive and very much liked by everyone. So that's the thinking behind it, that we are not changing what is the knowledge that is existing. The way to anchor a ship will still be the same way to anchor a ship, but how we learn about that is what we are changing. So that's the background of MarinePALS.
Okay.
Like I was saying, the young workforce is changed. 75% of the workforce now is Gen Z in most of the companies. And the way they are digital, and the next generation, they're all going to be digital natives. I mean, you can see in society, right? A 1-year-old is playing with a tab. There are games for 1-year-olds also. So once we come into trying to teach this generation, we cannot expect that they will still read fat books. There is a joke that I always tell everyone: why is that nobody wants to read the Bible or the Quran or the Gita? Because there are no pictures in it, and there is no video in it. And you give the same content to people in a more modern format, they like it, they enjoy it, because learning should never be a forced thing. We all know that in a classroom, when we were in school or college too, we liked certain teachers and we didn't like certain teachers, because certain teachers made learning fun, or they kept it interactive, and so we could stay awake in their class. So that monotonous way of giving knowledge from the big professor to the young student, that never worked earlier too. It's just that the tools have become different, and we are now being able to take a teacher sitting in London teaching a student sitting in Philippines, which was not possible with the way we were doing it. If you actually look at education from the time of Socrates The way we were teaching was whether sitting under a tree or sitting in a classroom which is air conditioned. It was a person talking and the other person trying to listen and absorb. Now we have discovered many more with technology, new ways of doing that. And we introduce, like for the young children, we introduce funny characters, avatars, in the thing. And that makes it more interesting. It's more relatable to a child of today or a student of today with the technology that they are using in their social life to be able to learn through the same kind of mediums. I think for the seafarers, life is going to become a lot more difficult because the pace of change, of regulations, of technology, of everything around them is never been so fast. Right now they are being bombarded with learning new alternative fuels. So for 50 years we were all heavy fuel oil. Every ship had the same kind of engine. And now they might be one time for 4 months working on a ship with a conventional fuel, and the next 4 months they may be going on a ship with ammonia as a fuel or LNG as a fuel. So that's one big change that is happening, and the beauty contest has not finished yet about which is the fuel for the future. For all we know, in 10 years' time it could be nuclear on every ship, and maybe that will solve the problems that we have with respect to the emissions, etc. The second change that is happening now is the digitalization and autonomous shipping, progress towards autonomous shipping, which will last another 50 years, maybe shorter or longer depending on how we adopt the technology. I mean, look at cars. They have been invented in the late 80s, early 90s, the self-driving cars. But till today, we don't have them on all our roads, certainly not in most cities in the world. So similarly, shipping will go through this change where we will keep progressing towards semi-autonomous and then autonomous shipping. So while in that transition phase, the students, the seafarers will need to learn new stuff. Take the case of passage planning on a ship now. In my generation, we had paper charts, parallel rulers, and we were making the courses to the next port. Now with AI-enabled softwares, we are doing that completely digital, completely automated, and we have made the process much better because at that time it was my intelligence on doing the plotting of the course. Now it's the combined intelligence because we analyze all the routes of the past 20 years or 10 years, whatever is in the database, and the new route that we would be giving would actually be a safer one because it's taken into consideration all the previous routes used by all other ships. And these softwares are already there. So the student of tomorrow has to continuously learn. In my last company, when I was head of training, I had enforced that a minimum of 10 days of training per year per individual. That might need to go up to even 15 or 20 days every time that they are on holidays, and the companies will need to plan for that because the pace around them is changing so fast. Technology will not work well unless the people are trained for that new technology. Otherwise, we will blame the technology, but the real problem could be that we didn't give enough time to the human being to interact with the new technology. So right now, that is the challenge that all shipping companies face. There is a new SIRE 2.0 checklist. Okay, what's the training for that? There is a new right ships bulk carrier checklist. Okay, a guy going on the bulk carrier needs to do that. So all of these changes is going to put a lot of pressure on the seafarers to continuously learn, which is actually not a bad thing because like doctors and engineers, they have to do continuous professional development. So the seafarer has to do CPD also. Okay, that's a big question. I would probably say two things. One, overall, the investment in training in the shipping industry is very low compared to other high hazard industries. I mean, at the end of the day, on a ship, we have an engine room with heat and fuel. The accommodation sits on top of that, and just 20 meters away on the main deck, we are carrying chemicals or oil or gas, etc. So this combination makes a ship a high hazard environment. And if you then compare it with factories that are doing chemicals, for instance, if you compare us with aviation industry, chemical industry, any high hazard industry, mining, we spend too little on training. So that's one, that we really need to invest in our human resources. That's one message that I would say. And the second message I would say is that the amount of work expected out of a seafarer has been progressing. To give you some statistics, when I was sailing, the regulations were 2,800 pages that I needed to know as a captain. Today, that's around 20,000 pages because of all the laws that we have passed. The number of people when I was sailing was around 24. We are down to 20 or 21 or 22 now. So the seafarer is saying enough is enough. We fitted scrubbers, we need to do jobs for that. We fitted ballast water treatment systems, we need more tasks for that. We made our plant maintenance systems better. There are 3,000 tasks on a ship under the plant maintenance system. And while doing this, we have reduced the manning from 24 to 20 or 19 even on some ships. IMO and the industry needs to look and say that, listen to the seafarers. They are saying, we are not lazy. We try to work all 7 days a week, but enough is enough. Now you can't keep telling us to do more tasks, which will happen with all the new regulations, alternative fuels, etc. that are coming, that there will be more tasks on board, and their limit of dealing with it is reached a point where they are saying enough is enough, and we don't want the seafarers then to be having incidents on the ship and then we blaming the seafarer. In reality, the regulatory framework needs to change and take into consideration, and I think that manning scales need to have a comprehensive review in IMO, which hopefully will happen in MSC 111, that people will accept that. I would strongly urge our industry to have a serious review. I'm not saying we necessarily have to increase manning, but maybe we need to do other things to make the seafarer's task easier with some other automation or something in another way. As adults, we need to listen to the seafarers and not just keep saying there is no need and just keep adding new regulations and new training requirements. That would be my big message. Thank you.